Now, to be honest, I don't get to go out and fly FPV as much as I'd like to, but in the past year, I have been able to do a handful of different FPV jobs. I flew in cafes, restaurants, hotels, museums, and recently I also started collaborating with a few different athletes. Now, some of you guys saw those clips and reached out to me asking me how much I charge for a shoot like that and how much you guys could charge. And originally, I didn't want to make a video on this because I didn't feel like I was the most qualified person to talk about it. Although I have this YouTube channel, I always try to make it very clear that I am not a seasoned professional. But after looking around online, I realized that it's not that easy to find good information on this. And after talking to some people, I do have a few insights I want to share that I think will help some of you guys out. But I want to be clear, everything that I talk about in this video is just my opinion. Now, I'll also tell you right away that all those jobs I did, I actually did for free. And I know some of you guys might find that surprising or disappointing, but I actually had a really unique reason why I did them for free, and why in some situations I even refused getting paid, and I'll get into that shortly. But to break it down, in this video I want to talk about why I've been working for free, whether I think it's a good idea to work for free in general, and finally I want to share some info that I found on how much other people are charging and how much you guys could be getting paid to shoot FPV as well. Anyways, let's get into it. So until very recently, I was actually in a very unique situation. Some of you guys may or may not know that last year I was actually living in South Korea and working in education. Now, one of the conditions of my work visa was that I could only be employed by my school, and I wasn't allowed to make any extra cash on the side from any other jobs in Korea. But this was the time when I really started getting into FPV and I started this channel, and I knew I was going back to Canada soon, so I wanted to start working on my reel so I could eventually get paid work after I came back here. So since I legally couldn't get paid and there weren't really any other local FPV pilots, I decided to offer my services for free. Now, I definitely got a bit lucky. All I did was write a single Facebook post in a group for English speakers in the area, and I definitely didn't expect a large company like Hyatt Hotels to respond. To give them credit, they did offer to pay me, but I didn't want to get in trouble with the Korean government, so I declined the offer. But I did end up accepting a free stay, as well as a whole bunch of fancy meals in their restaurants, which I'll get into a little bit later. But that was my reason for working for free. But what if you're not in a situation where it's illegal for you to get paid? Is it still okay to sometimes do free work? And a lot of people are going to have varying thoughts on this, but again, in my opinion, there are some situations where working for free is okay. And those scenarios will vary from person to person. Personally, my way of thinking about it is, if you're not getting paid for a job, you should be getting something of equal value that is worth the time you're putting into it. And that will mostly depend on your experience. First, if you're a complete beginner, pretty much any jobs that you do will provide a lot of value to you, especially if you don't already have any work to show. The thing is, in order to get clients, you're going to want to have something to show them. Whether it's a link to your Instagram page, or even better, a highlight reel that you can send them, you want to be able to show people what you're capable of. If you don't have any sample clips and you reach out to companies, it's going to be very difficult to find one that's willing to pay you a fair wage if they don't know what kind of quality they can expect for the final product. So in my opinion, in this situation, doing a few free gigs can get you amazing content that you wouldn't otherwise be able to get, that you can then use to sell yourself to other clients. Now, I feel like some people would disagree with me, saying that by doing this, you're devaluing creative work and possibly making it harder for the people actually trying to get paid for doing their job. But in my opinion, these companies are getting exactly what they're paying for, or in this situation, not paying for. Since you don't have the experience yet, your work will most likely not be perfect. You might totally mess something up, and they might end up with a less polished product from an amateur drone pilot, and honestly, they can't be upset because they're not paying you for anything. Of course, your goal should always be to create the best content possible, and they might get extremely lucky with you, and you might deliver a banger of a video. But if this content is something that's really important to this company, and quality is something they really care about, then experience is something that they're going to value and actively look for. And they're probably not going to hire Joe Schmo who just walked up to them on the street. So I personally do think that it's okay to do a few free jobs until you have some clips to show, but the goal will always be to get paid as soon as possible. Now, another time I think it's okay to do free work or even fund your own passion projects is if you've realized that you've built yourself into a niche that you don't want to be in. Unfortunately, if you have a ton of experience filming real estate, but your ultimate dream is to film action sports for Red Bull, your real estate experience will most likely not help you get there. Just like how some actors get typecasted for the same roles over and over, if you want to work in a certain filmmaking niche, unless you're already at the top of the game or known to be a jack of all trades, you might have to show proof that you are more than just the real estate guy. On one hand, that's why I'm currently trying to get in touch with various athletes. I find that work very fun to film, and it's a niche that I'd like to get more jobs in, but I don't have a lot of experience in. But because there's a pool of FPV pilots who already have a lot of experience filming sports, there's no reason for a potential client to reach out to me if all I film are landscapes and interiors. So right now, I'm trying to prove that I can do more than just that. Now, I found this one to be really interesting, but to get some more perspectives for this video, I actually reached out to a whole bunch of experienced commercial pilots from different parts of the world to see how they feel about working for free. And what blew me away was that almost everyone's response boiled down to the exact same thing. And it was that they have or would be willing to work for free or at a discount if they felt the opportunity would help them make a leap in their career. In other words, if they got the opportunity to work with their dream brand or a client that could propel them one step closer to their ultimate filmmaking goal, they would be willing to do it for less or no pay. Personally, I completely agree with that, and I think I would do the same, but I also think that you have to be extremely careful. If you're considering taking a job for free because you think this might help me, benefit me one day in the future, but you're unsure and you're not that excited about it, and overall it's going to take a lot of your time, in my opinion, don't do it. When I was in college, originally studying media, I took a few unpaid internships because it was what everyone was doing, and I thought it might help me get a career in the future. But looking back on it, none of those internships gave me any value. I didn't really learn anything on the job, and I didn't end up getting any other jobs afterwards either. Of course, that doesn't mean that none of these opportunities would end up benefiting you in the future, but in the very least, a question I would ask myself is, does this opportunity make me excited? Even when it comes to these YouTube videos, the ones that I'm most proud of now are the ones that I was most excited to film. And I think that goes for most creative work. If you're mostly doing it out of obligation, once the work starts to pile up, you might end up feeling frustrated or resentful, which may not result in your best work, and in the end may not be worth your time at all. On the other hand, if this is an opportunity to work with your dream brand, and you're confident that this is what you need to get to that next level, and you're excited about it, then I would say that the value you're getting out of this is pretty high, despite the fact that you're doing it for free. Once again though, make sure that you feel confident that you're getting some value out of this, and don't let these brands walk all over you. I've heard stories of big brands sometimes making low offers or vague promises, knowing that there's a lot of people that are eager to work with them, so just don't let anyone take advantage of you in that way. Unfortunately, the toughest part of all this is that every situation will be unique and nothing will ever be black and white. So if I was considering doing a job for free, first, there are a few questions that I would ask myself to be a little bit more certain about the value that I'm getting. First, am I going to have creative control? Is this going to be an opportunity for me to showcase my creativity, or am I bringing someone else's vision to life? Number two, is this footage that I can use in my reel? Is this something that I'd be proud to show other potential clients? And also, is this footage something that this client is even comfortable with me using for my own personal use? Number three, is this something that interests me, excites me, and is a part of a niche that I want to be working in? Again, you don't want to put yourself in a box that you don't want to be in. And four, who am I filming this for, and how is the footage going to be used? For example, when it comes to working with local athletes and talent like I've been doing, if you approach them with the offer of content for their Instagram in return for content for your Instagram, to me, that's a fair exchange of value. It's a collaboration and you're both getting the same exposure from working together. If that same athlete approaches you and says, hey, I need some promo shots to advertise this class I'm putting together, in that situation, you are more bringing their idea to life. And if that's the case, you should be getting paid for it. Because in that situation, you are more providing a service for them. The value isn't equal, you know? Actually, another question I would ask myself is how much is this gonna cost me? Because if I'm doing free work, but it's gonna cost me something out of my own pocket to do it, that definitely lowers the value on my side. If you're excited about the job, but you're doing someone a favor, maybe you could at least ask if they could cover some of your expenses. Or another thing you can ask is there anything else of value that they could give me in return? For example, like I mentioned during the hotel shoot, instead of getting paid, I got to take my girlfriend there to stay for free. And I also got a whole bunch of fancy dinners and drinks for me and a group of friends, which altogether probably cost a few $1,000s. Was it as good as getting paid? No, but in a situation where I literally legally couldn't get paid, that was definitely worth it for me. All right, so now the last thing to talk about is the big question that a lot of you guys want answered. And that is, how much are people actually charging to fly FPV, and how much should you be charging? And again, this answer will vary on a lot of factors, some including what country you live in, how experienced you are, the complexity of the shoot, the gear required and insurance needed, the current market in your area, travel costs, deliverables and post-production work, how much time it's going to take you and what you're expected to come up with, and how, where, and for how long the footage will be used by the client. Now, this is a lot of stuff to think about, and again, I am not the best person to talk about this, so my first recommendation would be to find some other pro pilots in your area, reach out to them and see whether they might be willing to talk to you and help you in regards to pricing. But I know you guys want some concrete info, so I did compile some information that I found on some Facebook posts, which I will link below in case you want to read the whole thing, as well as from some professional pilots that I reached out to personally. All right, so based on the information I found, in the US and Canada, for those pilots who are only shooting with a GoPro, so either on a 5-inch drone, Cinewhoop, naked GoPros, whatever, the average prices that I found were between $800 and $1,500 just for the pilot's day rate. So that's for showing up and shooting the footage. Doesn't include any travel costs, gear rentals, post-production work, or anything else. This is just the pilot's fee. Across Europe, the numbers I saw are in a similar range where pilots are charging between $500 and $1,500 US for the day rate. That being said, the numbers that people are charging significantly go up if they're shooting with a Cinelifter, which makes sense. It's added risk with the expensive cinema camera on there. It requires a bit more skill, so you can charge more. And again, this number will depending on your country, but the average that I found, people are charging between $3,000 and $7,000 plus, depending on how in demand your skills are. And again, since these are just the pilot's day rates, that's a pretty decent amount of money you can make. I highly recommend you guys check out those Facebook posts that I'll link down below. There's some pretty notable pilots that I think you guys will recognize who share their perspectives on there as well. But yeah, hope you guys found this video helpful. Hope you guys learned something from it. Again, these are just my opinions. If you guys disagree with me on something or have some more insights to share, please leave a comment down below. I'll try to check all of them out. But as always, I appreciate all you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.